Hi there, my name is Josephine LaCosta. I live right here in Portland, Oregon. I'm a chef and a farmer and a community member who hosts all kinds of food-related events throughout the year. Um, Today I am here to show you how to make a really, really simple salad and my personal favorite thing that I love to do with patty pan squash. So patty pan squash, like all summer squashes, starts off on the vine like a really, really tiny little satellite and then grows into this big uh, palm-sized kind of a thing, and it'll just keep growing and growing if you don't harvest it. So I personally really like when they're this size. You can just cut them in half across the meridian, so that would look just like this. And then pan sear them or grill them and, just pop them in your mouth. They're super duper tender. But with a bigger squash like this, I like to shave it really thinly on a mandolin, which we're going to do today. And you can incorporate it in all sorts of salads. But the salad I'm going to do for you right now is a pretty classic Italian style salad. My family's Italian, so that's kind of the style of cooking that I tend to lean on. And it's going to have a little bit of purple basil, some classic Parmigiano Reggiano, and yeah, really basic oil and vinegar dressing. So we're going to get started. I'm going to get this cast iron heating. I got this really lovely loaf of bread at the farmer's market this morning. I'm going to make a crouton, but it's going to be sort of in a flatter shape with a really thin slice. I think it's going to go really nicely on the salad. So I'm just going to get this pan heated, and I'm going to get the bread sliced. Sometimes when you're making a crouton in this style, it can help to have the bread cold or on its way to frozen. Since I just got this from the farmer's market, it's really, really fresh, so I'm going to do my damnedest to slice a nice thin slice. It doesn't matter if it's like a little bit uneven. I'm just going to shave the crusts off, and that's what we're going to be working with. So I would save these and either leave them in a low oven or a dehydrator overnight, and you can make really delicious breadcrumbs with this. But this is kind of the thing that we're looking for our crouton. So I'm going to make a couple of those. So for the croutons, I'm just going to fry them in olive oil. You could use any neutral oil that you have, so grapeseed oil, corn oil, canola oil is not ideal, but if you have it lying around, it's an easy one. So I'm putting a generous amount of olive oil in the pan. The pan's already pretty hot, so I'm going to get these guys frying. So the oil's coming up about halfway up the sides of the bread, just a soft sizzle. So as those are frying, I'm going to make the dressing. The dressing is really, really simple. Just a little bit of mustard, about a tablespoon. Some lemon zest. This is a microplane. We're going to use it for the Parmesan as well. So might as well, since it's out, use it to get some lemon zest. I'm going to do the zest of 1.5 lemons for this salad. Keeping an eye on the bread, I'm seeing a little bit of browning going on in the edges. Using tongs, just going to gently flip them over in the pan. So if the slices were a little uneven, the sections of the crouton that are thinner are going to brown first. So just keep an eye that those sections don't get too dark. I'm going to pull this one out of the pan. It looks really pretty to me. I'm adding just a little bit of flaky salt right when it comes out so that the salt sort of gets absorbed into that oil. They might stick to each other a little bit. That's fine. Just unstick them. I'm just watching them for color as they're in the pan. Some of them are going to be ready a little bit earlier than others. Just kind of pull them when they look good to you. So the croutons, I like to pull them out onto a few layers of paper towels. Paper towels are going to absorb all of that oil and leave the croutons really, really crispy. So back to the dressing. We've got 1.5 lemons zested into a bowl, a little bit of Dijon mustard. So I'm going to add a little bit of raw garlic to this dressing. Also using the microplane, just about half of a clove. Raw garlic can be pretty strong, so it's just enough to get a little bit of extra spice in there. So we've got raw garlic, lemon zest, mustard. I'm going to put a generous amount of olive oil, some red wine vinegar. I really like a balance of red wine vinegar and fresh lemon juice in this dressing, but if you don't have either, one of them will do just fine. I'm going to get some lemon juice in there as well. As a chef, I don't even have a lemon squeezer at home. I just have a little strainer like this and strain my lemons right on through it. So that's just one lemon in there. I'm going to give it a good mix and see how it tastes. Should always taste a dressing, even if you've made a recipe before and you trust it. You just don't know how sour the lemons are going to be. Yeah, lemons are a really variable product, so I highly recommend tasting it to just make sure. Great, that tastes good. I'm going to add just a little bit of salt and let it marinate over here. And then it's just getting the patty pan sliced. This is a mandolin. They are somewhat dangerous, so, use caution when using it at home. It's got a really flat, thin blade right here that if you get your fingers anywhere near it, will slice you. A lot of people will use the guard, but I'm pretty used to using this tool at this point, so I don't have a lot of fear with it anymore. But we're looking for a nice thin slice, somewhat translucent, so that it's just starting to let the light in, but not so thin that it doesn't have any texture left. So I kind of will adjust the mandolin blade as I go. I'm actually going to trim this top stem away so that we don't get any of that tough stem in the salad. I'm just going to leave this end piece and not keep going so that I don't cut my fingertips. As you can see, one patty pan squash is a lot of squash. This salad, once filled out with the other ingredients, would feed 2 people really generously. I'm going to add just a little bit more and use these small ones so you can see both patty pans in the salad. These small ones make a really beautiful cross section. You can see the scalloped edge on it. So we've got our squash here in the bowl. I'm going to season it pretty generously with flaky salt. You could use Maldon salt. You could use Jacobsen salt. Anything that's flaky and is going to provide a little bit of texture in the salad. I'm also going to add Parmesan cheese directly onto the squash in the bowl. We're going to finish with some of this as well, but I like to add it in before I toss it so that it can add a little bit of extra flavor to the dressing in between the layers of the squash. I'm just going to add the dressing directly to the bowl. This is some purple basil, also that I bought at the farmer's market this morning. Tastes exactly the same as Genovese basil, any green basil that you'd find. I just thought it was really pretty and thought that the yellow and the purple for this salad would really pop. And color matters when you're putting a recipe together, especially if it's a salad. So I always like to let my eye wander at the farmer's market to things that are really attractive to me. So just a little bit, probably 20 leaves in there. Again, similar to the Parmesan, we're going to add more basil at the end, but it's nice to kind of get it into the layers of the salad. I'm going to get our plate ready here. Oh, and of course, in my opinion, the most important ingredient is black pepper. The combination of black pepper, Parmesan, and lemon is just one of the greatest combinations. Cacio e pepe pasta, of course, that doesn't have lemon in it, but I think the earthiness from the black pepper with that little spice kick alongside this sort of umami richness of Parmesan cheese, and then the acid, which is going to lift everything up from the lemon. So I like to get in here directly with my hands. It's really important that each thin sheet of squash gets a little bit of a lick of the dressing on it. And then when I go to plate it, again, I like to plate it in layers. Some of the squashes will have torn a little bit as you were tossing where the seeds are. Totally fine. That's part of what you sacrifice when you go for a thin slice. Once you've got the bottom layer established, you can kind of come in with some larger clumps from the bowl and start to create a little bit of structure on the plate. The squash, because it's thin enough, folds really beautifully over itself, so it's nice to create some of those ridges and peaks when you're building the salad on the plate. Again, the way that it looks matters, and it will make people want to eat it. We've got our salad here in the dish. I'm going to garnish it now. I think the order of the garnishes for this salad should be basil, parm, and then the bread. And you'll kind of see why, but there's already a good amount of basil in there. I'm going to add just a little bit more on top to make sure that there's basil in every bite. A little bit more black pepper because you have to. Parmesan cheese. So this is going to provide just sort of a light dusting over the top of the dish. And then the croutons, you know, they're kind of in these big shapes. I'm going to go through and break them up a little bit and just sort of land them in different corners of the salad. And if they happen to kind of tip over and they're sitting in the dressing, even better, they're going to soak up all of that delicious flavor, and it's just going to be really good. You can kind of go in with your fingers or tongs or something and just sort of layer them in or hide them to create a little bit more texture, again, in the layers of the salad. And that's it. This is a patty pan squash salad with Parmigiano Reggiano, a little bit of mustard vinaigrette, and fresh croutons. Thank you so much.